guys, here's my gear for today. Keep with the same brush, the B9A from Declaration Grooming, and a Bristle Brushwerks handle, kind of a tortoise color, very subtle, dark. Gladius handle on my Karve Christopher Bradley razor. I hand polish the top cap here, so it's not the bead blasted. This is the C base plate today in solid bar. The blade, as usual, the Nacet that we'll be using for another 10 days. How about that? Ballpark. And then this dark soap. Looks more like a brownie than a soap. Massacre of the Innocents. A scent he put out, I believe it was about this time of year last year. I was never able to get any. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to pick it up. And then later on, when I decided I wanted to, it wasn't really around as much anymore. And I just waited until somebody had some on sale, and somebody did. Somebody used market. Somebody had obviously used it some, It is a very interesting dark scent. It has some of the same pieces that I've experienced in a few other dark scents out there. And let's talk about those. But first, let me get my brush in the water, because I want those tips to have lots of exposure to water before the shave. The notes that he said were in the soap, it's of course patterned after King Herod. Massacre of the Innocents was of course when around the time of Jesus, when he was born-ish. Herod didn't want the competition, and so he killed off all the young babies in the male children in Bethlehem. And there's a scent, there's a fragrance called Herod. I've never smelled it, but apparently this is kind of a dupe, or at least inspired by that scent. We've got on the top probably the most volatile pieces of the scent, cinnamon and pepperwood. In the heart of the notes you have osmanthus, tobacco leaf, labdanum, and incense. And tobacco leaf and incense are really the only ones I know too much about. I've heard labdanum mentioned in several different scents that I do enjoy. So I got a feeling I like that. Just don't know what it smells like. Osmanthus, I've never heard about that one before. I could even be butchering the pronunciation. The base are some mostly notes that we have heard of, like vanilla, cedar, vetiver, patchouli, very common base notes, musk, and then two weird balls that we don't see too often. I have seen a couple of times. ISO E super. That's 3 words, very strange. And cypriol or cypriol. It's like cypress, but IOL at the end, cypriol. So, quite a few scent notes for this one. What can I smell from the empty tub, from the unwet tub? I smell the pepper. I'm happy that the cinnamon is not jumping out at me. I'm not a fan when that's a big note that is kind of unfiltered. The tobacco leaf is strong. I'm happy that vanilla is also a background player. Cedar as well. I like vetiver. There's almost a chocolate vibe to this. And I don't really identify too many of the other pieces. So let's see what it smells like wet. All right. Let's put the blade in the razor. Today I decided to take a lesson from yesterday, the D from Karve didn't really give me a great shave, a little too much feel. So let's back down to a C, see what happens. There's my Nacet. You can see the little curve it has in the edge right there from, I think, use number 225. Perfect alignment every time, thanks to the choices they made with the posts and things like that with the Karve razors. So many of the good razors these days, you just don't have to worry about alignment at all. All right, very nice. Time to get my face wet. My computer counting is the most accurate. And so if the card I show you here ever disagrees, probably just be off by 1, and that means on the previous shave maybe I didn't put a little mark on there, but it looks like this is shave number 354. Blade is loaded. Face, put some water on my face while we mix up the lather. I've recently told you guys that with Milksteak and the new Noble Otter base, the base is kind of slowing me down a little bit. The moisturizing elements is what I'm assuming is causing it. Shake out the water from the brush. But those butters and oils are congregating in the lather on my skin, and while my skin feels luxurious between the shaves and afterwards, it makes for a little slower shaving experience. I'd rather not have that. Okay, I'm going to go for a 35-second load based on the past times that I wrote down. And 25 is going to roll around right here. So then I can go to, if I want 35, I can go to 50, 55, plus 5. Go to the 0 mark. And there's 55. And judging from yesterday's load, kind of looks similar. A little bit of watery in there. Now this, as a brown soap, this could potentially put a little tinge, a little tint in your brush's bristles. And so if you are a stickler for that kind of color to remain bright and shiny, or if you have a boar brush that you like to use, you may want to switch and use a synthetic if you do value the color, a bright color. Lavanil, Night Music, a few of the other soaps that might have things that could color your brushes, tint them a little bit. So while we start to mix this up, I'm going to tilt you down. Looks like between 3 and 4 teaspoons of water is what, or 3.5 to 4.5 might be about the range that might match some past ratios that I've done. I did get word from some other shavers, HD Shaves. I really enjoy talking with him on the comments of these videos. Just going to go ahead and put 2 teaspoons in. He is kind of like me in a few respects. We like, in terms of these types of brushes, we like a little bit less density. We don't like that stiffness due to the density. We also like nice wet lathers. And I think he's got kind of a studious analytical mind, kind of like I do. And he has a B9A that's ahead of this one. And he comforted me after my second use with this and said that it does change regarding the tips. They do soften. And he said the backbone, due to the density, will change a little bit, which I would assume. But he said it still may end up to be a little bit too stiff for perhaps he and I. He may discover he doesn't, his own B9A is not quite to his liking. As you can see, I have kind of a sloppy, gluey looking lather with some bubbly pock marks there. And that is almost certainly because I added a bunch of water at the beginning instead of gradually building it up. With most soaps, it doesn't matter. If you know how much water to use, if you want to put it in the beginning, it doesn't matter. There are a few soaps out there that you want to add it slowly at first, and then once you kind of get your lather going, it doesn't matter. It has softened up a little bit. That tobacco scent that you might smell from tobacco, part of that is in there. I like it. It is definitely not near as strong in wet form as it is from the dry puck. Less concentrated, I imagine, so that makes sense. Let's put another teaspoon of water. And it doesn't really even look like it needs more. It's pretty gluey and low structure right now, but what I'm hoping is that by adding more water will activate more soap. If the lather just gets weaker, then I know I did not load enough soap. And so sometimes when you know that typically you might use 3.5 teaspoons of water, if you find you're sitting there at 2 and it doesn't look like it can take any more, you can do a couple of different things. You can do what I just did and come from the aspect of, I'm going to add as much water as I know I'll need, because then either the lather will step up to that level, the water will combine with more soap and give me the lather that I need. And it looks like indeed that's what's happening now. Or that water will cause the soap that's in the bowl, the existing lather, to weaken because it has given up all of the soap that it can. And in either case, it's good, because the first case, it's a win. And in the second case, now you know that you need to go back to the puck and get a little bit more soap. Very wet and elastic right there. Did I hold that at the right angle for you? See, that is very wet. So in retrospect, I may want to add a little bit more soap next time, but let's just try it and see what happens. Rinse my face. All right, boys and girls. Went outside and grabbed a few things. So I put a little bit more water on my face. Let's just see what happens. Man, this brush just feels like a stick. There's not very much lather in there. It's not splaying very well at all. I believe I need to help it along by shoving it down into the lather to put the lather in between the bristles. Give it a little help. Now, I've said this before, this is something I've discovered when you have really dense brushes like this. The really wet lathers that are kind of like this one, they don't usually show off these kinds of brushes in the best light. Because they don't make it easy on the bristles to move and flex. So I'm going to feel every bit of backbone. Indeed, we are dripping. So you know, if you don't have a lot of lather, like I currently don't, you can pull the lather back into the bowl off the side of the brush. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot. And so one of the things we can do, just go back here for a couple of swirls. And then come back to your face. And if you've got a lot of water in play, then it'll work itself up. If it feels pasty, kind of like this does right now, then I didn't really have a bunch of water on my face to combine with that extra soap. And that is easily remedied. Yeah, that's a good lather. See, look at that. We've got some nice good stuff coming out the side of the brush. I think I just added a half teaspoon. This is good because we are spending more time working the lather into my face, but this is kind of like a boar brush where it's not as enjoyable as it will be once the tips get to feeling as soft as they're going to feel and all that. And then look, we know we're building lather when we have all this built up on the borders. We put that back in the lather bowl. Add some more water to the brush. I'm really glad he put out the B9A, because I've been watching each batch and looking at people's reviews, wondering if it's one that I should maybe jump on. And each time they've compared it to, I've been able to trace back a comparison to something that I know about, and each time it's been too firm or too jelly. And so I'm glad for the commentary from other folks to help me make good decisions. All right, here we go. Use number 354. Okay, so in that case, it means that we're going to have about 11 more shaves. So let's see if the C feels different than the D. Little Tuggy. Probably more Tuggy than the special edition Fatigues that I have used so much. Definitely more Tuggy than the Fat Boy that I have recently come to realize works pretty well with this old Nacet. All right. And rinse. Oh, I've probably got enough in my goatee here. Yeah, plenty to do kind of a touch up right here. And I mean, why not? Let's not waste lather. I mean, this lather feels really good. So why don't we just keep going. This is a way to be thrifty with your lather if you don't have a lot. And some people, instead of using a bowl to contain their lather, they'll mix it up in their palm. Pause, yeah, for rinsing. All right. So it looks like with just that little bit of soap, that kind of re-energized my whole lather. There we go. Third pass now. Definitely be returning to the Chris Bradley knot club. Clumsy way of, oh, did I just cut myself? I wonder what happened right there. Clumsy way of saying I won't be using this razor with this old blade anymore. Unless I want to try maybe some other gaps. Just not a good match anymore. Oh yeah, see I was feeling, I think maybe I got a little clumsy and nicked my ear. I don't think I've ever done that before. Yeah, plenty of lather to do the job today. Not 5 passes of lather probably, but plenty to do the job. And rinse. Well, if you didn't know by now, this lather is just a little too wet. Dripping all over the place. And when I say too wet, that is a subjective term. It's too wet for my preferences. I guarantee you there are some people when they don't stop adding water until it's dripping off like you have seen it do for me today. That's just the way they like it. And there we go. We definitely have enough room for enough lather for some touch-up passes, something like that if we need to. One good thing, if you mix it up this wet, you don't get any of that drag I was telling you about. Don't get any of that at all. Very slick shave. And then we will turn and go from the other direction for this third pass. I'll be interested to see if the C base plate here gives me better results than the D from yesterday. Pick the straight side, the one without the curve in it. The wound that I put in the blade edge a while back. Just a very light touch, watching my angle and the slant of the razor. If you're a pilot, the roll, pitch, and yaw, you're watching all of those. I only know those terms because I'm not a pilot, but I was very interested in airplanes when I was a kid. I was almost going to be an aeronautical engineer. All right. With my wet hand, I feel on my face, and it's not, I feel the slickness of the soap kind of rising back up just a little bit, but not a lot. And so I didn't load too much soap. I don't have some concentrate on my face that, is going to just build up into a bunch of stuff. So I think I got my mix right where I like it and where the soap probably likes to be as well. Let's give it a good rinse and check the closeness. Closeness was kind of about the same as yesterday, just not very. So, for your average job from a distance, nobody's going to notice anything. But there is just kind of a shadow here, some length left on the tips, and that's not acceptable. So we'll switch back to either the Fatip Special Edition Open Comb Piccolo. Of course, as long as it's the open comb, it doesn't really matter whether it's performance-wise, whether it's the Piccolo handle, the thinner solid handle, or the Grande handle, the thicker but hollow handle. Either one is going to perform the same. It's not exactly true. It kind of technically is true. But the heavier handle is going to give you a smoother feeling. It's going to have more inertia as you move the blade around on your skin. So it will give you a different shaving sensation. I guess that's true. All right, well, there we go. Hey, one thing I want to echo from yesterday, and I spent a lot of time talking about it, but just today it's going to be a short thing. Fine Accoutrements soaps, one of my favorite soap providers, because they just happen to line up some of their values with the same ones as I have. They hard pucks, inexpensively produced, inexpensive for sale, interesting, wonderful scents that resonated with me, and excellent performance. The slickness beats this kind of soap for sure. Fine gives this level of slickness that I had just now, but with a creamier feel. Whereas with this soap, if I go creamier, aka drier, then it starts to thicken up a little bit, cause a little bit of drag on your face, just a little bit. I'm just picking at gnats here basically, but nonetheless, for less money, I got better performing soap, and they still had wonderful scents. Now, of course, it didn't have anything as complex and sophisticated as Massacre of the Innocents, but anyway, I like Fine a lot. I like the way they were going. The factory, the German factory that was making their soaps, among other soaps, had to close down. The parent company just didn't have the money to keep it going. And so this year they closed down, and Mr. Fine is looking for I think he already has plans for a new formulation. Hopefully it will stay within the same ballpark of the previous soaps. But because I think I wrote something the other day, I mean, we've got plenty of cropes, tons of cropes. I hope he doesn't give us a new crope. I like the hard pucks, but anyway. So, all that to say that if you like fine soaps as well, then get online now. Smallflower.com, West Coast Shaving, Amazon might have some. TheRazorCompany.com. They have a wonderful shipping policy. Right now, anything over $10 ships for free. Pretty cool. And eBay. eBay you got to watch out for, because there were some at the regular prices, and then there were some at $10 over regular price. And always look at the shipping on eBay and calculate it in your head, because it may cost less if you actually have to pay for shipping, whereas another one may cost more, but shipping's free. So, do the math. All right. So anyway, if you want to get some fine stuff, then get what you can now, because when it's out, it's out. All right. The scent was so strong from the tub. Robust. Slightly gourmand with kind of that hint of chocolate. Reminds me of Night Music from Barrister and Mann. Yeah, it's got some definite similar scents with that one. It's not super strong. I'm going to say 3 or 4 out of 10. But it's really enjoyable. I like it. Gives you a good experience. But it was kind of light. I'd say a firm 3 out of 10 for my nose. You guys may be able to pick it up a little stronger. Okay. 4 teaspoons of water is what we used. We did a 35-second load, and we probably added another 5 seconds that we loaded during the shave. And so 40-second load, let's call it that. 40-second load, 4 teaspoons of water, and we ended up with a pretty wet lather. So we can make adjustments from there, right? And I will now put a dot on my paper with my Sharpie. As you can tell, I left a lot of room for more dots. I have no idea when this blade is going to quit. And there we go, 3:54. So tomorrow, we start with a 10 countdown. I've got a new sterling soap to me that I was going to bring you. I've got a sample of something cool. I may bring that. November was going to be the use of the Fine Accoutrements Santal Absolute puck, so maybe I need to return to that. This use of fine soaps was also intended to help me to know how long a puck will last me, how many shaves I'll get from a puck of their soap. If they're discontinued, it becomes less relevant information. But I'll do it anyway, just for grins. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. Oh, post-shave. How does my skin feel now? Noble Otter left my skin feeling more supple, more hydrated. But I actually prefer this feel a little better. You know what I thought might be a good pairing with Massacre of the Innocents? something very manly. Midnight Stag. So we've got Massacre of the Innocent Midnight Stag is the theme of today's shave. So the lather treated my skin well. Not as strong as I thought Massacre of the Innocents was going to be. I think it's a neat scent. I'm definitely going to keep it around. Really glad that I have it. It is also one that I feel I might not, it might not be one that I instantly enjoy and resonate with, but one that I grow in appreciation of the more I use it and like it more and more each time. I really enjoyed it this time, but I think it's going to increase. I think my education of it, my nose is going to start to appreciate it more and more, like it even better than I do now. All right, rinse time. I think that's what that's what it's time to do now. As I'm cleaning up here, the Midnight Stag is around me, and it is a good match to me. A good transitional story from the Massacre of the Innocents. It's stronger, it's more pungent, but it seems to be in the same genre. I like it. I like the mix. All right, there we go. Hey, gang, I sure hope that there has been some good information here for you. If anything, to just watch the journey of the Nacet. And hopefully some stuff along the way. I'm glad that I overwatered this soap, overwatered the lather, because it did let me know that yes, my Milksteak lather from a few days ago was underwatered by a little bit, and it definitely gave me some drag. Or was it just right? I can't remember which, but at least I know that if you give Milksteak a ton of water, then you don't get that same kind of thick, buttery feeling on your face. And so you can get that super slick performance. You just have to tolerate some drippiness and that sort of thing. So I'm glad about that. And I learned that the C base plate was not better than the D. The D might be a little bit better, but they both just weren't that great. So, that's something. So we'll return to the other two razors that I've been using with this blade for next time. And like HD Shaves says, we'll put some more uses on this declaration brush, on this B9A, and see if we can get those tips to soften up to something that I really enjoy. If that happens, one thing that jumps to my mind is that I doubt that the density due to all the backbone due to the density, I doubt that's going to relax enough to where I will enjoy the brush. But if I see those tips soften, that can tell me that maybe if I find a 24 millimeter handle instead of a 28 millimeter handle, and have him put some B9A hairs in that brush, then perhaps that density due to the size of the knot won't be a factor. So that's something I'm thinking about. All right, guys. You guys take care. The Thanksgiving holiday is next week. Just enjoy each other. Be smart about COVID. But enjoy your life as best you can safely. And I hope good things for you this season. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You guys take care. Good night.